Too bad. I already pressed the button.
Yes.
We're off in hyperspace.
Are we live?
We are live.
Cool.
Ranko is back.
Ranko is back, yeah. Tomorrow is a day off, Mohammed's birthday, so I can make it a little bit more late than normal. But thank you for having me.
You're getting Union style.
Sorry?
You're getting Union style.
Yeah,
like her
I'm so
style.
inspired by her, so I need to make my hair similar. My wife said, "You're crazy." I said, "No, I got a great inspiration from the Netherlands."
Great, looks great.
I'm a great fan, Yuyan. Here you go. I admit it. Hands up.
Oh my days. I went to the hairdresser today.
Oh my.
I'm too loud in my room.
Aina, when are you going to become a little bit more yin yang in terms of the hairdress? The rest you can keep the same, but I think your hair needs.
Yeah, well, a good thing you mentioned it. It's what my wife is telling me for weeks. You have to go to the hairdresser, and I need to go. But I'm one of those people that I don't really like to go to the hairdresser. I don't know. Some people really like that. I don't. I'm not particularly fond of going to the hairdresser. But now it's getting too long. But I do think that if I could try, because it's long enough to do that kind of a thing, so we can kind of. All right, we'll get there. Hang on. I need some equipment.
You're getting it there. Yes.
What equipment are we talking about?
We can do it live. I can go like my hair. I have a razor I can use on the side. Next jam, it's going to be the hair jam.
Yan says that she's have a lot of wax in her products.
You tell me guys what you need. I'll just send it over.
I think we have some. I have two women in my house, and they are very, especially my daughter. She's 14 years old, and everything is about the way she looks at the moment. So there's lots of products in my house. And she would love to kind of do my hair, by the way. That would be so cool. I don't allow her to because I don't trust her. She's my daughter. She has my. It's no good.
Come on, Arne. You need a little bit of creative courage. And we can give you some creative chaos. And perhaps then you gain some creative confidence. Come on now.
Your daughter's fashion sense, dude. See what she comes up with.
All right. Okay, that's a challenge.
So next week, Arne, I thought it's a good moment to get over your own ego and step over your own shadow.
Good. Yes. That's true. Well, okay, sure. I'll. I should share some pictures of me when I was 17, 18 years. You'd be shocked.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yes, please.
It's not good. It's not good. It's not a good look. But I used to play in a band I actually just not too long ago stopped, and it was all about not really caring too much about your hair, really. So it's a very long. It's very. Doesn't look good.
Today is now the messy look. Everyone's trying to get.
Yeah, it's the messy. Yeah, I'll try.
Yeah.
Mark.
Let's talk about my hair. Can we just now next topic? So what about COVID? Anyone?
You what?
Sorry, what's that?
What about COVID? Anyone? Any anecdotes? How are you doing? How are things? Oh, Jimena, yeah. Oh, I have one.
Oh, you're finally wearing a mask, Arnie. Yes, finally.
Well, it's because I went, I had my vacation and I spent, I didn't go to any other country because of COVID-19 and I wasn't sure about the rules and stuff. And I didn't want to travel to a country because we kind of thought, well, let's stay put. So but I did spend some time in Rotterdam, which is very close to where I live. And they just changed at that moment. They said, well, maybe you should wear face masks in the busy areas. So they're like, oh, so we purchased a couple of them. And but here in my city, we're not wearing them yet.
Where do you live, Arne? Is it really
Haarlem.
a small town? Oh, Haarlem, yeah.
Very close to Amsterdam.
Yeah.
We still wear the mask in that office. I mean, right now there's no one here, so I can be free. But when I move to the other building, then I have to get everything on.
Amanda was wearing a mask. Where was it? Was it Monday or Tuesday?
Yeah.
In our meeting. And a visor.
And exactly, in the field too. So just protection.
Yes, double protection. That's what I wear at work as well.
Yeah.
Jen is rocking another hairstyle.
Where's Jen?
Jen Sutherland. Hello, Jen.
Hi, Jen.
She is the opposite of my curls.
Oh my
now,
god.
with another color.
I love your hair, Jen. Do you mind if I spotlight?
Yes.
Oh, she says no. Okay.
Oh.
Everybody just go and find
Just
Jen
look at Jen.
Yeah, just
Find
She's got a lovely hair.
I am searching new names. Is Mark Schreiber, is this your first time here with us?
I think he's on mute.
Mark Schreiber.
You're on mute, Mark.
Sorry, the double mute got me. No, hello everyone. It's not my first time, but it's been a while since I've been on the call. Thank you.
Welcome
Looking forward
back.
to today's chat.
Welcome back. All right. So, like as everybody know, at least unless you're new to the WebJam, you'll know we're in the decompression zone, and we're getting out of the decompression zone. And the decompression zone was meant as one of our rituals to allow people to have a soft landing because of a lot of these online meetings. You know when they start and you go, you have to get straight to business because everybody only has 1 hour. And so we kind of try to come up with some rituals as also our backstage at the top of the hour at 6 is at least Central European time in 1 hour. We go into the backstage, which I usually really enjoy because that's sort of free talk. That's a nice ritual I think we discovered. Anyway, I don't know, how long do you want to stay in decompression zone?
I think we should get started today, Arne.
Yeah.
So let's kick this off. Welcome everybody to Wednesday Web Jam. Thank you for joining us today. We have our special guest today is our very own Anupa Dasgupta. Wait, hi Anupa. And I'll flash Anupa. I'll flash her.
Not really going to flash Anupa, hopefully.
Yes, not that type of flashing. Good flashing. All right. So Anupa today is gonna help us think about how we work, and she'll tell us more about that in a little bit. But she has a background in design strategy. She has worked with private and public sector, and her key approach to building end-to-end delivery is really getting into understanding the relationships between people, business needs, and how design can be leveraged to smooth all of that out. So I'm gonna stop sharing my, oh, one more thing. So our agenda for today, we're gonna start off with Anupa sharing a little bit of context building about what we're going to do. We will then do a couple of activities together, and then we'll end up our time together with discussion. And then, as always, at the end of the hour, we will transition to our backstage time for those of you who want to stick around and chat a little more. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for the moment. So Anupa, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Great to see you. This is our 22nd web jam. So love to see everybody from all over the world and so much of great energy. Like Ezekiel said, I'm a design consultant, and the thing that what I like about service design or design thinking is the fact that it's human-centered. You know, whether it's in the process, whether it's in just looking at how we use empathy in a context. There's a lot to understand about people. So the purpose of today's web jam is to understand people's actions in this current and post-pandemic situation that we are all in together collectively, and to explore like how we look at the shift within workspaces. Slide.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen again. And here we go.
So one of the places that was severely affected with the pandemic was the workplace. Now, it's not only the financial viability that businesses are looking at or organizations are looking at, but it's also the relevance between the individual and the workspace. So it's how, behaviors are affected, how protocols have changed, how the individual is more highlighted over, time. And also the thing is that how we are kind of creating this position of looking at the macro level and now zooming into the micro level. So whether it's in the way that you have team discussions, whether it's remote work with Zoom, how do you understand hierarchies within team. So it's looking at a lot of, let's say, situational instances that happen within the workspace and how are we dealing with it. So slide, please. So the way that I was looking at the situation is that I felt like before there was a lot of predictability. People were looking at trends. They were looking at forecasting. Looking at how AI is kind of transitioning into the world. Predictive intelligence. So we were looking at a lot of larger things. And yes, of course, we were looking at customer experience. We were looking at how employees interact in a business. But suddenly, all overnight, everything has become very iterative. It's become action versus non-action. So the whole paradigm of the way that workspaces kind of functioned overnight changed into, what are we going to do next? How are we going to look at presentations, cultures, facilitations? How are we going to enforce empathy and, trust into a situation like that? So next slide, please. So in this pandemic, I was like, okay, let me just get on to LinkedIn. So how many of you are actively on LinkedIn? So yeah, so I was like, okay, I'm going to add people and I'm going to go through posts. So something really interesting came up. Like I looked at a lot of content discovery, and people were posting a lot of personal stories about their passions, about how their workspaces look. And I think that that's what they wanted to share. People were talking about role selections and how people are kind of looking at sharing the fact that some roles have become redundant. Can we help other people? So there was a lot of kindness, a lot of empathy that started growing. And I felt that this was really important, and it kind of made me understand how is the workplace changing. What are the key factors that are kind of coming in? How are teams getting empowered? What are there any special ways that let's say, consultancies or even organizations are, kind of promoting this kind of shift. So it's important that we kind of acknowledge that. So giving this whole parameter, what I felt was that the main idea, the main focus was on the self, and how do we create this this shift. We need to kind of like look at the self, and how do we do that is by understanding where we stand. Slide. So the activity that I kind of chose for today was a persona. So some of you might be knowing what a persona is, some of you might be new to it. So a persona is basically creating a character. This character is normally a fictional archetype. It's, we create it from the data that we gather, whether it's qualitative, quantitative, whether it's from, insights, visual data, or just like stories that we hear. So it's actually giving the person that we are looking at, we're giving it a more human touch, we're giving it more empathy, and we're kind of connecting with it. So persona as a tool comes in at any point of the design process. It's in the beginning, it's in the end. It kind of helps you keep a track of who the user are and who you're kind of connecting to. So how does it work? You identify your target group. It could be nurses in healthcare, it could be certain kind of team members in an organization. And then you kind of have indicators. So as you can see, there are like about 6 or 7 indicators that have kind of spoken about. Each persona will have a different kind of indicator given the context. So in some, engagement levels might be really important, or, preferred actions, or, there might be some aspect of your context that is necessary. So, it kind of builds it kind of builds the whole idea of a persona into a fact that, you know who you're designing for. So it's very important to understand and kind of recognize the user, or the, or the person that, you're creating your service for. Next slide. So in today's exercise, we'll be looking at the 3 values, opportunity, challenge, and value. And we'll be trying to see that within the groups that are created, how do you kind of identify this, this persona? It'll be centric around your work. So, so the thing is that you can, look at the criteria. As it could be opportunity within your workspace, opportunity within just like behavior, opportunity as how you function. Challenge could be like a difficulty in, the way that you're communicating, or a compromise. Or a value could be something like, something like a person is, empathetic, or, has like a great leadership quality. Next slide. So yeah, so this is how you would have to identify your persona with given these parameters. Next slide. So the activity for today, you would be put into breakout rooms, and with your team, you need to create a persona to just see how your persona kind of like interacts in the pre and current pandemic scenario. So that's your first exercise, which is number 1. You've been given the activity. So first you identify a role. Your roles have already been stated. You give your persona a little bit of more of their demographic, and then you kind of look at the key indicators of, how you could create, or how you could, bring this persona into life. So, so the thing is that you could have either 2 indicators, or you could have more, given the way that your conversation goes. I would really urge that you get creative and put in as many ideas as you can, and yeah, and enjoy the activity.
So yeah, go ahead, Ezekiel.
One more thing. So when you go to Mural, just look at the top of your Zoom window, look for your breakout room number, and then find the corresponding workspace on Mural. So be it that you're in breakout room 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so forth. You'll be in groups of 4. Mark, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, you'll have about 10 minutes. So, please use your time creatively. And I hope you enjoy the activity and come up, and yeah, and then after that, we could just like share if some of you'd like to, just talk about your insights and, how you're feeling.
All right. Thank you, Anupa and Ezekiel. So I'm going to send you guys into breakout rooms, and you should be in groups of 4, maybe 5. It depends. And if you haven't ever been into mural before, Ezekiel, you've put the mural link in the. Yes. Okay.
Link
so
to the mural, it's in the chat.
Yeah, you'll need, if you haven't done this before, you'll need to click on that link, and when that link opens up, you'll enter your name, so that you can either enter your name or just go in anonymously and just click, and you'll be in this sort of virtual whiteboard. That's fine. If you're struggling, your teammates, somebody in your room will know how to get you to the right place. Just enjoy yourself. And what we want you to do is go to the green number 1, the big number 1 at the top. That's where your team is going to work in this breakout. And then we're doing another breakout session later, which will be the bottom number 2. So we're going to, without any further ado, shoot you over into the breakout rooms and see you guys in 10 minutes. I'll give you a warning about 5 minutes going by, and then a 2-minute warning as well. Okay, ciao. Hey, it worked. Holy smokes, it worked. Hi,
Holy smokes, now with sound, yes.
We are live on YouTube.
We are live on YouTube. Hello, hello.
So now that we already have the conversation flowing, would you guys like to add anything to it, or give your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, Anupa, I heard you talking about these trends that you noticed on LinkedIn, where people are now sharing something more personal, and it feels kind of like, you need this extra personal connection. And I do notice that there's a lot more complaints on LinkedIn from the, let's say, from the more traditional LinkedIn users saying, oh, this is not Facebook. Well, go, if you want to share things about your kids, go to Facebook. But where else do you see other trends like this that you would say there's a change in the way people are looking at work? And where else would you spot trends?
According to my general research, I've seen that there's a lot of co-channeling between let's say media channels, whether it's like people are connecting their personal spaces to their professional spaces. Like, you would find Instagram accounts like on websites, you would find Twitter. So I think people are trying to break those barriers that they have between who they are at work and who they are at who they are at their personal space. And I feel it also depends on what kind of business or organization that you come from, because some businesses have a protocol that you can only be XYZ. So I think on a personal level, I think people would like to merge that. So I've seen that kind of progression happening in these different channels.
Is that caused by the pandemic, or is it something that has been going on before? Is it a natural evolution? Is it something that, or is it what do you think?
I think that it was probably a natural progression, but I think, like I said in my presentation, I think it's heightened. I was reading a post where this father was talking about that his 4-year-old daughter has become cancer-free. It was great. And they had that ability to share it on LinkedIn. And in the same post, another father talked about their loss of their 4-year-old daughter who couldn't go through the cancer treatment. So I think that these kind of revelations where people are kind of opening up and talking about who they are, I think even for recruiters or companies to like hire now, it's going to be quite different, because you're seeing a different persona of that person. So
Is
I
it
think
connected? So I mean, so is but again, is it connected to because of the crisis? Because of because we're all or most of us are at home, working from home, working from our homes.
Yeah.
It's not in the office. We take a little bit of our private space, literally, to Zoom, to our meetings, to our sessions. Do you think is that part of kind of opening up that little door to your private space, also on LinkedIn, for instance?
I think so. I mean, like I was listening to another webinar where people were talking about this kind of trend that lunch has suddenly become very important to everybody, So I think that and people are like taking pictures of what they're cooking, they're eating, baking has become like, a massive hobby now. So I feel that, when you have time to invest for yourself, and I know that I've heard employees talk about let's say grievances that they had amongst their team members. It's kind of like not dying down, but it's lesser now because they have time to kind of invest in themselves.
But is it sorry, I like, because I think to me this is the topic about your work-life balance and that and the lie that we grew up with, as if there's a difference between work and life, and that we are experiencing not just because of the crisis, but also because of all kinds of reasons, that we want to be happy at work and we want to blend these two things, but we're struggling with it, obviously. But is there, I think that this is an opportunity for a lot of people and a lot of companies, a lot of businesses to say, well, actually, work-life balance, there's actually life, and yes, you may have to make a living and you have to earn money and you have to, and that we call that work, but that's also life. And I would take my personal space, and we see more examples of people doing this really successfully. So I don't know, I think there's to me, in my mind, there's a connection between something we actually want and there's an opportunity.
I think the pandemic in some ways I keep discussing is almost like a wicked problem, but even though it's a problem, there are a lot of opportunities within this space. And whether it's in interactions between team members, whether it's creating better management systems, let's say programs that will help you work faster or work more effectively, because the thing is that you will have more family or personal time, you might want to be more constructive. So I feel that this kind of shift between the way that we are working, even in our the work ritual, there is a shift that happens, um, and I think we need to be acknowledging of that, not once the pandemic is over that we go back. And I think it's important that organizations kind of empower their employees. I also heard that companies are giving Fridays off, because they want, because it's a stressful time. A lot of healthcare, mental health care programs are coming up. So, so I think that I think it's something that we need to kind of reevaluate what kind of working rituals are kind of being adopted now, from the good and bad. I mean, we need to see what worked earlier, what can work. So I think there has to be this exploration that happens from the.
And also how to incentivize. So I was speaking to an HR manager a couple of days ago, and he said that he was actually he was just new to the job, and he started the job in January, and then this thing happened, which to him, so he reports to a boss, and usually and that whole dynamic between measuring your output and and seeing how you perform, and then giving you the right incentives to kind of do the right work, and et cetera, all of that has it has sort of, although it hasn't changed yet, but it should change. We feel that it doesn't work in this environment. It doesn't work like this anymore. So how do you have those relationships with your boss or with your employees? Or it is totally a different space, and we pretend for a while, you know, we can just go on. You're just home. It's fine. Nothing changed, but it is the underlying there. And I think what you're addressing is sort of an underlying signals that, you know, these weak signals that there are things changing in our work environments and our culture and our traditions and the way we work and the way there's things changing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious about how performance appraisal will go in 2020, you know,
exactly.
For most companies.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. You've been home all the time.
You've been home. You didn't do anything.
Yes. You didn't clock in.
I didn't see you working.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, Jim. Welcome.
Yes, I came in late. How are you?
You came in at the right time.
Yeah.
I did, for the fun conversation. I missed you guys.
Yeah, welcome.
We're in a breakout session that's just getting ready to end in about 2 minutes. I'm going to send it out.
Well, I'll just sit here with you guys then and listen and learn. So, how'd it go?
But also, something also that happens is in corporate culture, a lot of things get solved in corridors or in small meetings. You just show up, you know, just knock at the door. Can we just chat for 2 minutes?
Yes.
Gone.
It's the gossip, which is actually how a company's run. You know, the unofficial communication channels. I've been in communication years ago, and I noticed that actually the official way of communicating, that's not how a company is run. It's the unofficial things. It's a coffee machine. We all know that. It's the gossip. Gossip creates culture, creates collaboration, creates systems. That's the gossip. We don't. How do we do that? Like WhatsApp each other? Like, do you also hate that guy? Yeah.
Well, Arnie, I can't resist talking.
Go ahead, Jim.
My wife has the answer. She and her coworkers created a Facebook group on Facebook Messenger, and they talk all the time. And it is
there you go. No, exactly.
It is pure gossip. It is this happened. That person said that.
Yeah.
You believe they said this? Why are they doing that? You know.
But that is so important.
Then it becomes obviously tribal, doesn't it? Because then it's who is in that group, who is on the other group.
Yeah, it's like my daughter, like, you know, kicking out the girls they don't like, and then, you know, it's like it's but it's interesting, and it is how it's done. So I think, you know, we don't have to be naive about that. Ezekiel, any last, because you wanted to say something? Sorry.
No, I was just acknowledging. I mean, adding to that the absence of serendipity that would happen at going to like a drink afterwards.
That's true.
Yeah, but no,
That's fun.
Exactly. The drink afterwards, or going to dinner with your colleagues. Yeah.
But maybe we could create a new ritual with that, like the personal space could become, you know, an online session. When I know a lot of companies have created like fun Fridays where they discuss about like a hobby that they like or something that they've done. So, you know, maybe this could, like, you know, foster different kinds of innovation that.
I think we're breaking out into the main session.
Yes,
you are, definitely.
How is everybody feeling?
You're breaking out into the main session.
That was 10 minutes.
Did it feel like 10 minutes?
Zoom time, yeah.
No, it felt like 5. It went by so fast.
Yeah.
What was it, 5?
It's all relative. It's Einstein's.
Right.
So welcome back. Would you like to share some insights of, you know, how you felt the exercise was? Did you come up with any insights? Anything that you'd like to share with me and everybody else?
Yeah, it took some time to really understand in detail what we asked to do, and as always, these exercises in workshops like this, having 10 minutes, usually we will work half a day on it. So that's always a big challenge.
Now you can just do it in 10 minutes.
Yeah, come on. So that's the new time. No,
that's the new time.
We don't need half a day anymore.
Did anybody come up with an insight that they'd like to share of, something that they really thought was important or something that surprised them?
No.
Well, since this is an international gathering, I'm curious, what do you learn from people in a different part of the world from where you're at and different areas of practice?
I think it was just important to sort of look through all of these points that were there. For example, opportunity, challenges. We just got as far as challenges. But opportunity within my team, what I really found a very important insight was that it's an opportunity to build deeper connections within the team. I mean, even if you're working from home, because of the fact that you're working from home and you're connecting with people online, so it's a more mindful connection because you're not going to just sit virtually in front of your computer on a Zoom without having an agenda. So also plus at the same, on the same level, I think any CEO or any manager or any person would have to work harder on maintaining and sort of establishing connections. Some things that we take for granted when you're meeting people face to face, it's probably easier establishing connections, but in a virtual world, is there another way to do that? Or do you have to work harder? That's an important point. I mean, we meet here on Zoom or we meet on virtual meetings. Sometimes you do wonder whether how much are you connecting with the person that you're sort of speaking to, because you're so used to making eye contact. That's what you're taught, right? That you're supposed to make eye contact while speaking. How do you do it in a virtual world? How do you establish the connection? So that was an interesting discussion that came up in our group.
I would like to add that we had Stefano with us today, and Stefano is with us the first time. And when Stefano told us he is from Bergamo, Italy, and we know the history of Bergamo, where the first pandemic exploded or came into the news, it was not difficult to empathize with what happened. So yes, in a way, it is difficult to establish the relationship with the other person, but pieces of information just drag me towards Stefano.
So thank you. Anybody else who wants to share the last comment before I proceed to the second exercise? Okay, so slide, please.
Coming right up.
So now that you've already gained some insights of how your persona kind of interacts in a certain context, the next exercise is role playing. So what is role playing? Role playing is basically an enacted experience that helps you test the idea of a product or a service with the way that how the persona is behaving. So let's say if we put this persona in a post-pandemic scenario, how would this persona behave? Like, what would the persona think? Does the persona have any new ideas of what their perfect workspace would be? Does the persona have any like ideal touch points that they could use to manage their work, or any kind of methods of engagement and behavior that they feel would be just, amazing to kind of, interact with, while, being at office? So, what does the persona do? So what you'll have to do is that choose a team member, and within this group, kind of engage with this team member and come up with like questions or like, just like a casual discussion of how does the persona behave like in the idealistic workspace in the future. So I will be putting you back in your same breakout rooms for this activity. So yeah, any questions?
Questions?
It's fun, take it lightly, just be natural, whatever your first instincts come up with, that's what role playing is, you be iterative, be in the moment, and, just have a conversation that what if you are transported, like, let's say 2 years from now where everything is perfect, and how would it feel to be there?
So Anupa, the idea I think is to then go to the area number 2 in the mural.
On the mural.
On the mural, and then one of the people on the team or on the in the breakout room is going to be the persona, and everybody else is going to interview that person, something like that, right?
Yeah.
And just try to take on that person's persona if you are the persona, and then the other people kind of try to understand that person and build some empathy for that person. Is that right?
Yes.
Cool.
So I'm quite excited to hear what all you come up with and share with me after the session again.
Excellent. Everybody ready? All right, I'm going to hit the hyperspace button and we'll see you guys. I'll send you a 5-minute warning and then a 2-minute warning. We have a total of 10 minutes. We'll talk to you soon. And Jim, I'm going to add you to 4.
Thanks. I replied to your email, by the way, on the industrial equipment.
Oh, so okay. Great.
At some point. Slow moving, but it'll happen in the fall.
So,
hey.
And we're back.
And we're back.
Sweet. And yeah, I think it's important to imagine, be imaginative and be innovative, because, the future, you never know what's going to happen. And it's important to see how you see yourself, at least have that hope and that, ambition to be in a better space. So I think design does that. I feel that it kind of empowers your creativity. And I think a lot of people, especially in the design community, I see a lot of prototyping happening, amongst my friends, because, they all want to engage in something that they personally felt passionate about in terms of design. And, and they want to take that forward. And now they have that, work and, design execution space balance. So.
Yeah.
I'm muted.
You're muted.
Curious, since we all work in this, like what are we hearing from clients? Like what's kind of working for people and what's missing for people?
Pedro, Mark?
Yeah, I was saying that we had this experiment with that Scottish University, Strathclyde, and from Glasgow University, and it was interesting because it led us to think, okay, if people would stay, and just go along with the thought experiment, if people would stay at home half of the time, let's say 2 days per week, or 3 days per week. And then probably think about the infrastructure of the whole city. You might just need 2/3 of the current public transportation infrastructure. Roads would be far emptier, and so bye-bye traffic jams. There will be parking slots for most people suddenly. Everything becomes so easier for the city, and office space becomes cheaper because you need a smaller office now. But of course, there are no free lunches. And so who's paying? Where's the other side? Then I think person's houses are not ready to be in office at the same time. And so perhaps people need to move into bigger houses or to accommodate the office space that today is not so frequently included in a lot of the modern apartments.
Or have local kind of co-working spaces, which has been, I mean, again, that's also not new because of all the traffic problems.
Yeah,
there was already kind of the first, appearance of these local co-working spaces, like at train stations and stuff like that. So you could, so I think, I don't know, but I'm listening to you and thinking, oh, do they feel that there's a bigger demand for, or maybe not now because of the, but I can imagine that. Why would I go? Because a friend of mine said, and I'm in the Netherlands, and we, traffic is bad, but not like Mexico City or something, but it's bad. But he spends like each week 8 hours in traffic each week.
Wow.
And he said, no, he doesn't. And so he's not prepared to give 8 hours back to traffic. when he can spend it with whatever, his family or what other things, more valuable things, right? Than being in traffic. So I think
it's a surprising social experiment, isn't it?
No, but there's details changing, and so I'm really wondering, to your point, is actually because it made me think of, for instance, that during the pandemic, there were people who said, well, if I work from home, I'm going to because I have a second home in the province, so I want to go there. And they were not allowed to go there because the shops were not prepared for having like more people all of a sudden going there. So the infrastructure wasn't ready. So they said no. And I thought, which I never realized, like, oh, because it wasn't holiday season, and no, you can't go there. No, don't go there because they're not, it's not there. The shops aren't open, or the whole thing is not prepared for that influx of people. So to your point, if people stay home, it's other things we might not even realize will change. Like, for instance, you're going to get your lunch. All of a sudden, more people are going to get their lunch in their local shops where they never did.
Yeah.
And when it's like everyone, all of a sudden it's like, you can open new shops. You can like, oh, they need like bread and stuff. I can open a bakery here downstairs in my home. Right? That's a great idea. Right? Anyway, but we don't know because, right? So it's it's like the butterfly effect is like, right? So you change a little thing and then.
Well, I wonder what
an interesting thing that I'm keeping an eye on is this satellite internet service that I think is called Starlink, that I think SpaceX, what's his name, Elon Musk, is beta testing this year. So that really gives you flexibility, Arne, if you want to go off and work by the windmills of the Netherlands somewhere, or by a lake, or pretty much wherever. So you don't have to be dependent on.
I live in a windmill. What do you think? Of course. I mean, get my wooden shoes and go. Yeah, but of course, yeah. No, but I think that's where we were going anyway. I think that's where we were heading anyway. So it just speeds up things. Mark, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I mean the thing that I'm aside from just monitoring the time, I'm giving a little bit more time to the groups. But the thing that I think people are really struggling with, because we've done some research just this past week with interviewing clients, and the social and the psychological dynamic of work is right now is a huge problem, right? And it's like a bubbling thing, right? Like, the tea kettle is not whistling yet, or it might be in some cases, right? And I think the interesting thing about this is there's this tension of not knowing what is going to happen, not knowing when we're going to go back to some degree of normalcy and what that normalcy will look like, right? And it's really interesting, like having conversations with people about COVID and about their perspective on it. And in our family, we decided, we realized that everything we do is a calculated risk, right? And everybody's calculating their risk differently. And that's clear all around the world.
Yeah.
So I was talking to somebody and they were like, oh yeah, a friend of mine got sick. She's a bartender. And yes, 7 of her colleagues got sick with COVID. And one was kind of ill because, maybe he was a smoker or something like that. But it's like, oh, well, they just got sick. It was a bad cold. And then other people, you see all these horror stories of people in hospitals with ventilators and stuff like that. So it's just interesting to me I imagine, I'm just trying to project myself into the future, into those situations where we're giving people Post-it notes and Sharpies and we're asking them to move them around in a room and everybody's touching everything that everybody else touched before. What's that? What is that going to be like? I mean, are people going to be comfortable doing that?
And all the energizers and,
hugging and all that.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I know of this, I was reading about this case study about this office that had these 3 parameters like hug me, stay away, and I'm okay with social
The green, the yellow, and the red. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so I thought that was a brilliant idea because, you're creating, because there's a lot of discomfort. we have to be in a space where we are creating new services for the future. I think we're in the process of doing that, or creating new behaviors where people, some might adapt, some might not. So in this transitional phase, I think it's important that people, you know, are open, but I mean, you can't really gauge who's going to be open with, you know, with safety precautions and who's just going to be, you know, not safe. So I think it's important that people kind of like gauge this kind of pandemic as a way of just evaluating what is important to them, so they can, you know, create behaviors that would, you know, help everyone.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to go back to something that Arna said. Like, once, say there's a vaccine and COVID just totally goes away, and you know it's just a memory. What are people going to want to do and not do anymore? Like, what are people going to push back when they say, okay, back to normal? And some people are going to say, like, well, no, I don't want to commute for 8 or 10 hours a week. Because I think people do want to get back together in person.
They do.
It'll be interesting to see what, you know, how that all plays out.
I'm actually more worried, and you know, besides all the terrible things that are happening, and people on ventilators and that kind of stuff, but besides that, I'm kind of worried that I hope, it's a really weird thing to say, but I'm hoping that this period takes long enough. It's not too short.
Yeah.
You know, so we don't go back to normal, because I think we had a climate change thing coming our way.
There was something about that. I can't remember. Yeah. How can we flatten that curve, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's going to be so much worse.
Yeah.
We can't even comprehend. So if we feel this is bad, you know, so we have to change so much, and this is not even enough, you know. So I'm really hoping that this kind of, you know, takes long enough for the good things to kind of settle in, and to kind of get rid of that crazy thing of, as just one example, traffic, being stuck in a traffic jam. That is just a system that is broken. We should have fixed that long time ago. It's a silly behavior, but it's a construct that we can't get rid of because we kind of accept it, but it's so stupid. I mean, if you look at it from a distance, it's like the stupidest thing a human being can ever do is sit in a metal thing in a row with all these, you know, it's ridiculous. And even flying to different, go on.
Do you think this is a subtle way for the machines to get us prepared for things that are coming? I mean, just like, okay, let's stir them up a little bit. They create a little, I mean, the machine could have easily created the virus, right?
Yeah. Well,
conspiracy
year
theory.
year 2070, I think I would seriously consider that as a possibility.
Don't launch another conspiracy
future
theory.
is closer than you think. I'm going to have to
guys-
close the brebreakout rooms as much as this is a stimulating conversation, because
you just launched another conspiracy theory, as you do. You guys, you're there over.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
This time it was.
It wasn't me.
I'm
It was
thinking
this
Google,
technology.
the machine.
All this
machine.
technology.
Some data center of Google or Facebook made this up.
Yeah, but you know, look, the machines are going to have to change our diapers soon, right? They're essentially going to be the machines will be taking care of the humans, not the other way around. And that's already started.
Yeah.
So
Well, to that point, I think that technology needs to, if we do it well, if it's done well, if we're smart, we create technology so it frees us as human beings from all the stuff that we're actually really unhappy doing.
Yeah, but the only problem is we're creating algorithms that are self-creating, and nobody knows what they're doing.
Exactly. So there's that's an amazing topic to talk about.
Yes.
How can we
WWJ infinity and beyond.
Yes. Yes. Algorithms, AI, and social equality.
Yeah.
Please, yes. Let's go talk to that.
In my head, I just say like, hello, this is Google data center number 225. And hello, here is Facebook data center from Tennessee. And how are you doing? Let's now screw the humans, launching something new today. So, and I think that will be the future. We'll just these data centers talking like truck drivers to each other, and having a good fun at humans, thinking let's create this momentarily this traffic jam for them. Let's keep them in this.
Put him on mute now. Is it the moment? Should I do
Definitely.
Yeah. Because I don't think anybody knows what you're talking about now. So.
Okay, Anupa, over to you.
Yeah, so now that we're back together, what did you feel of the session? What did you think? Any thoughts, patterns, anything that you'd like to share? I would like to hear more voices, definitely, even if it's just a line or just, just something that you just want to share. So please.
Well, we learned that emotional intelligence and everything that comes with it has become much more important to keep teams working, aligned and productive. And that there is more understanding now of the importance to emotional intelligence globally.
I think what's happening is that overall, I think there is a lot of relevance to the way that you behave, whether it's with your current teams, whether it's across the organization, and how. So it's not only in terms of your immediate, but also in terms of, generally how would you be behaving. So I think there's a lot of value put into that. Anybody else?
Can I add? I think one of the things that came out of our conversation was people looking to have, or being looked to have all the answers. And because this is completely new, they don't have the answers, but that now I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to have answers. It's now making me vulnerable. I'm coming completely out of my comfort zone. So how do I operate in that space where I'm now not the person who is like the go-to person?
Yeah, I think there is a big, I think there's a big focus on empathy. I think people within the organization, within the teams, you need to understand how your team members feeling, like we're all working out of a personal spaces, there are things that you'd like to do, and how do you kind of like, make that trajectory between like your office space and your home space. And I think that's for an organization to kind of like progress and empower their employees. I think that is something that they would definitely like to acknowledge in the future. So, yeah.
I've got one. Our group, it seemed like the human connection, the physical human connection is going to be valued a lot more than we ever did before, because we're so separated now. And when the robots take over, we're going to miss that human connection.
Yeah, I think that we should acknowledge what we've achieved and how we can take that into the future. So I think that's really important. I hope you've all had like a great session, and I hope there's something for you to take back with, from what I've tried to kind of, create in this short span of time. You will, just as a takeaway, I've also created a toolkit which you can like download and use at your own, space within your organization if you feel that it's helpful. And also there are some really good books on like, let's say, tool making and, uses of like, design thinking in different ways. One is a service design toolkit, which is, that's one of my top favorites. Then designing for services, you'll find a lot of case studies and the value proposition design. That's really good, because if you have a lot of insights and ideas, and if you want to get kind of an overall, synthesis of what you're looking at in terms of your product, in terms of your organization, that's really, really fantastic and really good. So yeah, that's where my session ends today. Thank you for coming again. It was really great, and hope you all enjoyed it.
Bravo.
So thank you so much, Anupa. Like, we really appreciate all your work and effort that you put into this. By the way, folks, if you look in the chat, you might have to scroll up a little bit, but there is the prompt with a link to Anupa's toolkit and the other recommendations that she shared. So you can just grab those links and look for those files. So want to thank the entire crew, Mark and Arna and Pedro and Yen Yen and Mimp, Jimena, Nanchiket, and everybody else who's part of our crew. Next week, let me share my screen. Share this. So next week, we were meaning to launch our website, but we lost our keys. So we need your help so we can get this website off the pad and launched. Yen Yen or Jimena, do you have some color that you can add to that for next week's session?
Yeah, of course, color. You mean?
Sorry, did Ezekiel want to share his screen? Because I'm not seeing that, Ezekiel.
Oh, already I stopped sharing.
Okay, sorry.
Well, color, no. Emotions, of course I have. We've got a website hanging out there, and losing a key is really not nice, especially not for a lady who has a handbag. And, well, you get the picture. So please help us to find the key.
Yeah, so hopefully by the end of the hour next week, we will be able to open the website and you'll get to check that out and give us some feedback and contribute some ideas how we can make the website more awesome for the community and for everybody. Great. So we are actually a little bit ahead of time.
So Jimena, were you holding a key? Because I'm whoop, yeah, Jimena is holding a key.
Apparently. So somebody asked which website?
That's the that's the WednesdayWebJam.com website.
There's a mystery here.
I know. And it's time for backstage, I think.
Yeah. It's a good moment.
Now we're 4 minutes.
Now we're left hanging here with a secret.
Well, Anupa set the bar for Wednesday Web Jam. She finished early.
That's amazing. I don't know. I'm really...
First time in 22 sessions. Congratulations, Anupa.
It was a lot of script reading.
Quickly, so we are coming. We have 3 minutes left of our formal programming. Just wanted to check in with Arna and the rest of the team. Do you have any announcements? What are you up to, Arna? I know you're part of a conference this week and you have some other things coming up. You want to share?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we have this Friday, there's a design thinking conference, Ghana, which I think you should all attend, because you can all of a sudden, because of COVID-19, all the conferences are global. So you can attend this amazing African conference from your comfortable seat in your living room, which is amazing. And so yeah, go there and come to my session, because that's the most. No,
what's the name of it, Arna, so people can find it on the Google?
Well, it's just Design Thinking Conference Ghana. If you
how about a link in the chat?
Yeah, put a link in the chat. Yeah, I will do that. That's it. And yeah.
Cool.
Great.
Pedro, what are you doing these days?
I'm doing a lot of online workshops for clients. I think my eardrums are now getting fed up of this, of so much zooming in and out of sessions all day. So not so much fun for now.
Presumed, yeah.
Yeah, I'm zoomed. That's the new.
Indeed.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Those of you who want to hang out with us in the backstage, stay on with us. And we are transitioning to the backstage. So here, let me just flash my screen to kind of make that.
By the way, if you, oh, there you go. So I shared the Ghana conference link to the website, and I think there's 3 pictures. The first one actually rotates. You can see me sitting there as the only white dude. in the room, which is I didn't know they did that. So that's how
Arne, are these tickets, and is there a discount code that you have or something like that?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Discount code.
So that's a note to everything.
I didn't know I was going to announce that. I don't know. No, sorry.
Okay.
That would be next time.
I think you just sign up. I think you just click on the link and you just sign up, and
it's too much information.
so yeah, it'll be fun. And
yeah, because you're going, right, Anupa? So you know more about that than I do.
well, I got the date wrong, so I don't think I should be the point of
you shocked me. Yeah, you shocked me by saying, "Oh, and I'm going to your session tomorrow," and I'm like, "What tomorrow?" Yeah, you know, the Ghana conference. I'm like, "No, it's not tomorrow, is it? Oh my God!" But it's Friday. It's Friday. I'm okay. All right. I'm sorry. I have to run because I have a conference call with a client project that is exploding. So see you next week.
See you next week.
Hi, Arne.
Good luck.
Remember your hairstyle.
You're our host, my friend.
Yes. So we had such a great fun also filling up the void for the YouTube people and for the YouTube recording. And so while we were having great fun in the session in your mural, we're also having a separate conversation so that we could have something to show on YouTube while you guys are working. And I think one of the exciting, several exciting things we talked about, but one that I think was really good fun was if we imagine that this will go on for a long time and suddenly people start working from home for, let's say, 2 or 3 days a week, just as a normal way of working. And so offices become much emptier. And just go along with me in this thought experiment and imagine how cities will look like, let's say in 5 years' time. And suddenly traffic jams are gone because infrastructure of the city is designed for a much heavier workload. So we have far less traffic jams suddenly. Offices become cheaper and more available because you don't need so much office space anymore. Then what else will change in a city? Well, you will have more time because all the commuting time gets reduced, and so your personal time increases a lot. Public transportation becomes perhaps cheaper for the municipality to run it. So there's a lot of advantages. Public roads don't need so much maintenance because they get less used. And so a lot of advantages. If we keep piling up on all these advantages and we start thinking, why don't we really do it? So is this a free lunch? What's the catch in it? And we were talking about perhaps it's people's houses that are not ready for being also a home office at the same time. So do we need bigger houses? Is that the catch? Or then we discuss, well, perhaps co-working spaces near all people's houses. And so you will just go to your co-working space to have a small office space in a cheaper area. And again, everything gets better because your new office space is cheaper. You get to know different colleagues from different companies. Perhaps your local shops around you will get fresh business because now you spend more time around your house. So this would be an interesting change. And so how could we actually make the experiment go on for a longer time and change some cities? And I can certainly remember seeing this report recently about Lisbon being the city with the worst traffic in Iberia, which is basically Portugal and Spain together. So it basically means we have worse traffic than Madrid and Barcelona. That's what it means.
So
but it's, yeah.
Jim is sharing, he shared an article on the chat I see about pre-made sheds for those of us who, have like a large enough patio.
Yeah.
I actually know somebody who got one for work locally here in Miami. So how are you all adapting to having to work at home for a long time, and what are you seeing clients or the people that you work with?
Well, I think there's something going on, which is that that makes cities less attractive. People already now move to the countryside because currently the cities are also more dangerous or more difficult for sanitary reasons. Remote areas aren't. There's already housing prices falling in the cities and going up in the countryside, which is not too far away. And I read recently, for example, some articles where New York asks itself whether it will ever become the city it was before. Because this is really the place where everybody just fled. And because most people can afford have a second place, etc., and they are all asking themselves whether they should go back to Manhattan. So imagine Manhattan doesn't get back half of its population after the pandemic. So that will be a very different city. Of course, this is the more dystopian part of the story, probably, because what will happen to the cities? How will they look like, etc. And yeah, interesting times ahead.
Absolutely. So I think it would be really fascinating to see this future of work, how we can reimagine it and transform in a very different way. And so this is just one of the trends, but we're also thinking, how will performance appraisal happen in the end of 2020? You know, how will people get together and say, okay, now, so I've been watching your work attentively, and I think this year you performed kind of okay, but they haven't been together most of the time. So how will performance appraisal happen? And this, I think it will be a very interesting year for a lot of corporations.
I think they will skip it. They skip the appraisal.
Yeah,
because there's no money to give bonuses, so they will skip it.
Yeah.
And the other thing, what I see, I went to Jakarta because our company, we don't have offices and we don't have bosses, but we felt like after 5 months not meeting each other face to face, we felt like the energy went out of the team. So the owner and I said, okay, let's fly into Jakarta because most of the team members live in Jakarta. And I was really expecting during this pandemic, no traffic jams, because Jakarta is about 10-15 million people living in really congested. And the opposite was true. It was just like a Corona ghost. You can see it, but it's there apparently, but people just behave like normal.
Yeah. You want to go back?
That's really the sad thing. I mean, there are several trends contradicting each other. It's like, the town I live in, that's only 300,000 people, so it's really small. But it's like before, the city itself was becoming very, very attractive, and all the environment was really sad because people were moving away because there was no work. So this is changing. On the other hand, talking about traffic jams, Branko, it's like, yes, it's like public transport is losing so many customers, and what we have achieved in terms of mobility is now all going backwards, which is really, really sad because everybody's relying on their own cars again. And this will be so hard to get that back, that they have the cars out of the cities.
Yeah, I think we have to start talking much more about our preferred future and not the necessary, and not so much about expected, but because we the people that have to create it, and this is, for example, a case for moving much faster into electrical self-driving cars, where you don't need a car anymore, where there is no difference between a public transport and a private transport anymore, and all those things, you know. I think that this is an opportunity trying to, as a society, to accelerate those trends that are anyway at the horizon. To be able to create our preferred future and not let this more dystopian future create itself and fill in the space. That's our challenge. That's really our challenge altogether, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I love what you said, Sylvian. I totally agree. And I think that the thing I wish most for the near future, I'd say 2 or 3 years time ahead, is a self-driving car, because It's something that I can just like sit back and say, okay, just take me wherever. And I don't want to pay for, I don't want to buy the car. I just want to, just call for one.
Exactly.
That would be such a sense of freedom. And
of course, I also see that, but which also means that we have to give up some behaviors or some habits that we had. So thinking that you need a car, a big car, to be somebody or something like that.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, I remember that I was doing. Sorry, Jimena, I can see your.
Yes, I'm raising my hand.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Can I speak, please? Thank you.
Yes.
No, no, I was just. I know Jussy's laughing. Sorry.
We'll give you some time. Don't worry.
Sorry. Thank you. Yes.
Take your time. Take a deep breath.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Then you mentioned that. Sorry. No, somebody else, and then I can come back.
Oh, I want to go. Could I?
Yes, save Jimena from herself.
Okay, so I let her laugh. I let her laugh a little bit because I have a question then for Sylvain because he raised it. You said, to have a bigger car to be somebody. Yeah. So if it's not a car, what is it instead? What could it be instead to be somebody?
Yeah. Perhaps your cell phone.
Yeah, we have to.
Go away, Pedro. Shut it.
We have to design that thing as well, but I think that it will naturally emerge at some point in time. Will it be, for example, having an environmentally neutral life? So will the values be very positive values because they are expensive. They are still expensive, those values. Instead of having the big car that destroys the environment, being able to live a life with a house, etc., which has no impact on the environment, and that you can display this, like in a gamified setting. And things that are already happening now with quantified selves, applications, and whatever. And then, that could be the value instead of the big car.
Instead of a thing.
Yeah.
Could you be a leader on it then? You go, Jimena.
No, you can go. Sorry. No, just that, I mean, because Pedro started, making us like envision this scenario on what would happen on like driving and going to the workplaces. But when we were doing the exercise with Anupa and reimagining the future of work, to me, it was more like still working on that dynamics that should happen and that how can we truly collaborate? Because in the end, it doesn't matter where you are. I mean, if you're in your house or in the office, but if you're not really changing, I think that the core of organizing along with your team and working together, I think that's what's going to be, that's a challenging part to me, I would say like nowadays, more than where I'm at, because I was sharing with Bifke and we were speaking in Spanish. That's like, I didn't know she spoke Spanish. So it was like really nice to have that conversation together. But that, for example, I had a meeting and some colleagues were just doubting that what would I do, like if I would have what was needed for something. It could be maybe like the background or the age or the gender, like all these questions. So I think that in this part of reimagining our work, what will be more like our thinking towards our ways we will be collaborating with people. And we're also finding it too, when for running the sessions for Wednesday Web Jam, I was sharing with MIMP. It's an experience for us like to collaborate from within our own cultural differences or how we understand each other and our age differences and like all these different things that would make us, like different and hard to, but we're, like we're making it, like we're doing it despite any odds, right? And I think that's also like the beauty and the challenge of what the future will look like. So just sharing that.
Yeah, I think that
that's
also
a mentality thing too. Oh, sorry, Anupa.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a mentality thing too, because how pragmatic people are and how they find solutions is so different. It's like I went for an excursion for 7 days with a bunch of Spanish people, and we after a long day of walking in the mountains and very adverse weather conditions, we got to a refuge and there was nothing in it. It was freezing cold. There was no heating, no towels, no bed sheets, no forks and knives, no plates, nothing. We had everything on us. We had to carry all the food and drinks up. And then people just started singing, and we started a fire, and we sort of cut forks and knives from little branches in that. And it was like, for me, this experience was wow. So I think how people approach a challenge is absolutely different from culture to culture and from group to group, really. And this is something that we can really learn from, and that we can draw energy from if we make that a bit more transparent, how people react to that crisis. And it will not be the same. And I think, I don't know, it's not, maybe it's in your genes, maybe it's in your culture, but maybe it's in your resilient or capacity for resilience. If you then, what you do with the adverse situation and how you come out of it. And if you look towards a solution or if you get depressed. So this is, yeah, for me, this is really fascinating.
Yeah, I think also to what Jimena was saying, I think that it also puts people in situations where they have to be iterative, you know. I mean, let's say employees who were probably at the back bench probably have an opportunity to show leadership qualities, because, you know, we're all in a situation that we've never been before. So, you know, behaviors can be very impromptu, behaviors can be very natural, and, you know, instinctive behavior might just kick in. So we don't know, who can benefit or who can evolve within this pandemic. And I think it gives a lot of people opportunity if they can, you know, use that opportunity, that window, to kind of, you know, behave in a fashion that, you know, which was in them and they didn't know. So I think it kind of, you know, creates that space for collaboration. It creates space for, you know, being like you know, like a beaker for somebody else. So I think that's quite interesting to see how people are kind of, you know, managing themselves.
I just want to share with you guys. So I'm staying in South Africa, and we're working from home. So now there's something else we've got to contend with. So I'm sitting here with candles and my cell phone. So basically, we've got a situation. It's called load shedding. So basically, the energy regulator can't handle everything, and it's winter in South Africa. So basically, like, they'll cut your electricity off every 2 hours a day, maybe, and in some areas 4 hours a day. So basically at 6 o'clock, my electricity went. So it's so I'm just thinking, in the midst of a pandemic, we still have to deal with load shedding as South Africans. So at 6 o'clock, I was basically thrown out of this thing. But then fortunately, thanks to the dongle, I'm back. But it's like, I was just thinking in this topic about working from home, I don't know, it's basically, I think a lot of it comes down to trust and how you basically have to motivate yourself, I suppose. Because if you can't, and also personality, so a lot of people want to actually be in the workplace and they want to chat to others. And even from the perspective of like going to somebody's office, asking them, how are things done? Can you explain this to me? Now you've got to send it on an email, or you've got to follow up on WhatsApp. So yeah, I see there's a question, how do you adjust? I don't know. So some days you feel like you adjust more and some days less. But I just thought I've got to share this perspective with you. So there's the candle. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Great.
Yeah. It is
That's
beautiful
amazing.
that the stuff we are talking about, it is happening in front of our eyes. And I hope you feel, Cecile, that we support you, and, you know, not like a big thing, but more like, oh, we understand you are in a situation and you have taken some space and time to find a solution. It's the candle and the mobile phone, and we just waited for you, and you're, you know, just as welcome again. And I hope the value that we have found together is that we are able to wait for each other, that we have space for another to make a mistake or anything, and that it is okay just to ask the other person, oh, what can I do for you? How can make it I need some help. How can I make it a little bit easier for you? That's all. So I am glad to be here, and then having this, you know, is it patience or the feeling? I'm trying to say, you know, have the right feeling of time. I don't have to go fast. I don't have to go slow. I just want you to be, you know, in my circle on my screen.
Yeah, what you guys created is it's really impressive, and I think it's really, it's not that, I think not activity, but it's about the people that join these web jams, and again, I'm really grateful that that it's coming on my path, and that I can meet you guys occasionally. But it's really unique, to be honest, and it's really the people that join that make the difference. I think that's chapeau, well done.
Thank you for, you know.
If you allow me, I want to add some thoughts. I think that the pandemic has stopped this hamster wheel where we all have been in, and already felt that that we're not really good within it anymore. But the first one who will leave it will be overrun by it and immediately die. So we needed some help, some external help, an external shock to stop the hamster wheel. And to have that possibility, opportunity of a moment of reflection, where there is a window of opportunity to make a jump on the collective consciousness in terms of integral theory or spiral dynamics or whatever you might take as an example. There's also the concept of liminality, which is a concept from anthropology, which is a blind spot, a moment where former rights are already somehow abandoned, but where the new ones are not defined yet. And that's exactly where we're in. That's also why we have two possibilities, a utopian or a dystopian, in our two choices. As always, probably it will be some mix of it, but it depends on us if we create much more utopian parts, so preferred futures, than dystopian ones, because we have the opportunity if we understand what is happening.
I absolutely agree. Thank you, Sylvain. Because what I really, really like about today's session, and that goes to Anupa, is that she made us get a feeling for where are we today. Because we did that in the first phase of the pandemic, that we were using the same words, saying this pandemic is making us getting out of the hamster wheel, and we have to assess where we are and what we want, etc. And we thought it would be over in a couple of weeks, sort of. What I did, at least. And now we've come to the 22nd web jam, and we have to reassess, and we find, well, we have. Well, in my country, it has been in waves, and people in the first phase, they were really careful and really anxious not to come too close, being really friendly to other people, queuing with patience. And then all this momentum got lost, and I got really sad because I thought we have missed a chance to redesign how we want to live and to think about it fundamentally and find a good future, or yes, design the utopia that we want. And all these initiatives that I've seen in the first phase, like the Gaia initiatives and that, I had a look at them and then went back because I thought, no, concentrate on one. And I haven't heard from them a lot more, but I've stuck with the web jam, because this is the people where we can draw the intercultural energy, where we can, where we've made it and come back to the point where we can think about what we want really. And this is coming really close to me, and I'm really touched by the fact that we can really do that, and then that we invest the energy to do that again and again.
Hogs from Pedro. Hogs back to.
There's a few things that come to my mind related to all this. Not to steal your thunder, but these kind of communities are everywhere. Like in addition to all the other things, I'm also a lifelong gamer, and the gaming communities are in many places like this. There's a lot of toxic ones too, but like I've played with the same group of people for 20 years. And it's a family, a second family, and literally partially my family because my wife also plays with me. So, and so this, like in many ways, the situation actually isn't new. And it was kind of funny when we were talking about these, like a working space in the home, and well, we've always had the gaming room. So we're just working in the gaming room. Like, it's also our guest room, but still, like, we didn't need to create a space for working because we already had a place to work on the computer. So it's kind of interesting to hear people, like, for the first time suddenly have to do stuff online. I'm like, yeah, welcome. We've been here for a while. But yeah, so there's... Donna's asking about, am I disappointed when we have guests? Luckily, with the COVID, you can't take guests in the house, so the room is available all the time. Yeah, and also there was a third point related to something someone said. Oh yeah, I don't remember exactly what, but Jane McGonigal, who's a futurist and a game researcher, also talks about this, like gamers being something about being optimists. I don't remember the exact quote, but anyway, but like we also have practiced a lot of this kind, like doing something we've never done before, working together with people to solve that problem, and then just doing it. And then if we fail, we try again, and try again, sometimes for months, depending on the game. So it's kind of fun to hear people reflecting things that I've like lived through, like a non-professional context for years.
Yeah, just take the action and you are changing reality in this very second already. And if we feel like doing an optimistic change, then I think we are getting there.
Yeah, I love that that idea. Every moment is an opportunity to reboot. You can kind of just reboot and refresh. That's quite cool.
Jennifer.
I think listening to everybody, I've had a moment to reflect on the whole working from home thing and companies adjusting to that, and I try to look at things in a positive and optimistic way. And so I thought, this whole COVID thing forcing a lot of companies to have to reposition their employees and move quickly has been sort of the electronic kick in the pants that the world needed. I worked for a previous employer who was just hell-bent on not letting any of us work from home. We weren't dealing with anything that was, tremendously sensitive information, but it was a trust level that they didn't have with us. And I'm curious to find out how they're surviving these days, having to eat their words. But that's definitely something that I think the coronavirus and the pandemic has just forced us to learn to be nimble. And what Jussi was saying about video games, I'm a gamer as well, and it's funny because I get so stressed out when I can't complete a mission, but I have to remember that in a video game there's no risk. If you get killed, your character starts back at the beginning of the challenge, and you do it again. And I think it's that idea that we have to get in our minds that while there may be very real risks in the real world as opposed to the video game world, we still have to go into a situation with that type of mindset that if we fail, we'll get up, dust ourselves off, and do it again. And it's learning from those failures that's important. So in this whole COVID thing, if we take it full circle, what did we learn from having to mobilize or remobilize all of our employees to work from home? And if we had to do it all over again, what would we do differently? And let's just build on what's happened so far and move forward. So
yeah. Well, it looks like we're coming up to the end of Backstage. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. Thank you so much, Anupa, for all the work you put in pulling this session together for us.
Yay!
And Yan, any thoughts for next week?
No thoughts, just come, especially the gamers. Be fit, be bright, do your thing.
And bring your keys.
Many keys.
Maybe one of them will work, right? Who knows? Excellent. Well, thank you, everybody. And I might not be able to join next week, as I might be quasi off grid. But if I do see you then, otherwise we will see you when I'll see you next. But hopefully, most of you will be able to join next week again. Have a great one.
Thank you, guys, and see you next week.
Bye.
Bye, 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 bye.
See you next week,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Doei, bye, bye. Bye, Gabby, bye, bye.
Bye.